and hopefully they don't remake it, because we have enough bad 80s remake movies that are out there right now.
All right, Daniel, when you throw one right across the pitching mound like that, or right across the home plate like that, I got to swing.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so my solo review, I finally bit the bullet, and I watched the Running Man remake.
Now, I want to just point out, Daniel is not paid for his services here. This is something he has chosen to do voluntarily on his own time and steam. Nobody forced him to.
Right, exactly. Yes. Yeah, so so I watched the Edgar Wright version of Running Man, Glen Powell, and from everything I heard, this movie was really bad, and they were not wrong. This movie is really bad.
And I'll just say again, like you heard, the stove is hot.
Stove is hot.
I wonder how hot it is.
Yeah. 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 Well, I mean, I had some free time, and I just couldn't find anything really else to watch. I didn't feel like playing any Cyberpunk or Final Fantasy, so just watch this.
There we go.
Here we go. But yeah, so this version of the Running Man, from what I've heard, is closer to Stephen King's original novel than the Schwarzenegger version, which isn't necessarily a good thing.
I would say that history has kind of shown us that your best bet when you're making a Stephen King movie is to actually not be true to the original.
Yeah. Yeah, much like with The Shining, but yeah, so in this version of the movie, Glen Powell plays Ben Richards, and in this, so in the original version, Schwarzenegger's Ben Richards was a cop who was framed for a crime he didn't commit, and he escapes, but then he gets caught again, and then he and his buddies are put in the Running Man. In this version, Ben Richards is a blue collar working guy. He can't hold down a job because he cares about people too much, and so his last job, he turned in the employer because they're all working under heavily irradiated areas, and so he lost his job because of it. And
that's right. This is in like a not too distant future where there's been like a nuclear attack or something, right?
Right. Yeah. And so of course Ben is married, and he's got a 2-year-old daughter. And the daughter has the flu, and of course he doesn't have any money to buy medicine for her. And his wife is working. From what it sounds like, she's kind of working, sort of like a hostess, like a Japanese hostess club. She's kind of working that kind of a job, and so of course Ben hates the fact that she's working that kind of job,
so not quite prostitution, but not too far off.
Right. Yeah. And so he's at home, he's watching all these different game shows, and so Ben decides, oh, I'm gonna try out for one of these game shows, maybe make a little bit of money.
So instead of The Price is Right, he decides, oh, the Running Man, that sounds fun.
Well,
Doctor said I need to lose some weight.
Yeah. Well, no, he actually makes a point, point to his wife and everybody else, that like he doesn't want to do the Running Man. He'll do any other show but the Running Man. But then as soon as he goes through the tryouts, they see how he's got this huge chip on his shoulder. He's pissed off all the time about everything, and so the network executive, who's and his name is Dan Killian, he's played by Josh Brolin, Thanos. And of course, in the original version, the Schwarzenegger one, Killian is played by Richard Dawson, who's an actual game show host. And I will say probably the biggest thing in this movie that the biggest thing this movie is lacking that the original had was the whole integration of the television show and the host. You really don't get that at all with this movie. So once Ben gets into the Running Man and he's in there with these two other people, and of course we learn later on that like all three of them fit like a different archetype. So if you've ever watched like reality TV show, everybody who's on that reality TV show is a personality type. And when they cast those reality shows, they always make sure to find people with those personality types. And it's basically the same thing here. You got one guy who's just like totally nonchalant and doesn't really care. He gets killed in the first couple of days, and then you got another kid. The other one is just kind of like living the high life and party hardy and everything, and then they get killed within like I think 10 days. Because that's the other thing too, is it lasts for 30 days, which I don't remember the original one being 30 days. I remember being like 3 days.
Yeah, if that long, because you were gonna die quick.
Right. Yeah. And of course the other aspect of it too, the thing that the original had that this movie doesn't was the hunters. Well, the hunters are in this movie, but they're not like they are in the Schwarzenegger version. Like the Schwarzenegger version, they're almost like video game villains.
Right. Like I remember I was comparing them to like comic book characters.
Yeah, and
wrestlers.
Yeah, and this one they're just like nondescript soldiers, except for the leader, who's the one guy in the poster wearing the mask with the sunglasses on, and you don't know anything about that guy. Like or you don't find out anything about him till the end of the movie, and then by the time you find out who he is, he's like, I don't care. And of course, like the other part of it too is Killian. It doesn't host the show. It's the guy in the tux on the poster. He's the host of the show, and it doesn't work because on the original you had like Killian talking to all the audience members, and they're like, oh, who do you think's gonna do this? And there was that satirical part of it, and this movie didn't have that. And it's the tone is very different. It's where like it's very dark.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a bit more like over serious.
It is, yeah. Which surprises me from an Edgar Wright movie, like because Edgar Wright's pretty like. I mean, this is the guy that did the Cornetto movies. I mean,
I was gonna say, Daniel, for people who don't know that name off the top of their heads.
Yeah, I mean, he did Shaun of the Dead, he did Hot Fuzz, and then did all did some really funny comedy like spoof movies, satirical spoof movies. Of course, then he did like Baby Driver, which was we didn't care for that movie.
Right.
It was all right, and then of course he was the original director on Ant-Man, but they fired him because they didn't like what he wanted to do. And then there was another movie he did that I watched that I didn't like, which was Last Night in Soho, which was a like feminist horror movie.
Wow, Daniel, you said so many words in a row that make me interested in a movie. But to get back to this movie, like it's overly serious, and it's like everything's focused on Ben Richards. Like it's mainly just him. Like at first he's like just trying to hide, basically. Like he realizes that like the only way for him to win this is to just like find some place to lay low and hide. And which of course is bad television, so I imagine they aren't going to let him do that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that's a huge crux of it is wherever he goes, they always find a way to find him, and of course, and then he becomes this like revolutionary folk hero, even though in his mind he's like, I'm just trying to make some money so that I can give my family a better life, and it's just
you're making me immediately think of the life of Brian.
It is kind of like the life of Brian. only not funny. Man.
You're individuals. Think for yourselves. We're individuals.
We think for ourselves. Yeah, but yeah, I mean this. Yeah, and then the ending was so stupid. It was not earned at all. Like the ending just was terrible. Where they have this whole thing where like it's the whole third act is just completely rushed, and they have this whole thing on this plane and where there's fighting and everything, and then Ben Richards, they actually offer him the network offers him his own TV show, and your family's gonna be set for life and da da da, but he's like, no man, I want to burn it all down and da da da. And then it looks like the plane gets shot down, but like he somehow gets into the escape pod, because there's this other character in there who has this kind of like YouTube channel where he's like exposing the Running Man and everything, and so they kind of do this Deus Ex Machina where he pops in and says, oh, you don't see that, he got out in the escape pod, and and all this. It's just like, oh god, it's just, oh,
it just sounds kind of irritating.
It is, yeah. It's just, I understand not one. I think I said this before. I don't know if I said this in the review or if I said it before the show. I can understand not wanting to do a 1-for-1 remake and trying to do something different, but this is not the way to do it.
Right. I mean, I kind of understand if Stephen, like, actually this keeps happening with Stephen King lately, doesn't it? Where like they'll have an original beloved version of one of his stories, and then he gets angry and tries to get it made to his style, and then it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. Like there was some horror movie that came out last year that was kind of in a similar boat, where it was a Stephen King novel that was like finally getting a remake or an adaptation after all these years, and then it just bombed hideously.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can't remember the name of it. It was like 7 steps or something like that. 200 steps. Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. Well, and they did that with The Shining, where Stephen King famously hates The Shining, the Stanley Kubrick's version of it. So they did a TV movie about The Shining, like in the I think mid to late 90s, and I think it was okay. I've never watched it, but it was all right. But yeah, I cannot recommend this movie at all. Skip it. It's just, no, don't watch it. To stick with the Schwarzenegger version.
For sure.
Yeah.
Which is, honestly, in most cases, that's usually the preferred advice for any movie, yes. Really.
Yeah.
If it originally had Schwarzenegger and it no longer has Schwarzenegger, stay home.
Yeah.
It's a handy little memory trip. Trick. I am tongue-tied tonight.